Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, you're going to meet one of the most successful family law attorneys in North Texas, the great Natalie Gregg. Next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, I remember at the height of the pandemic, the news was talking about this can either bring couples closer together or it can drive them further apart. And now we see the pandemic somewhat in our rearview mirror. COVID is still popping its ugly head up from time to time. But to get a kind of a recap on what's happened here in the last few years, we went to one of the most respected family law attorneys in North Texas. Natalie Gregg is in the studio. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, the pandemic was difficult on everybody. Some couples, I think, thrive because they have separate lives and they go off and do their thing and report back at supper time. When you put people under the same roof and everybody's working remotely, it can tear marriages apart.
Absolutely. So we had a concern when the pandemic started. We didn't work from home. We didn't have the remote working that most industries have, and we're very collaborative in how we focus. So we all went to our respective home offices and took client calls via Zoom, and we found that everybody was getting divorced. Cheating was a lot harder to do because you couldn't say, I'm extending my vacation or my work trip. Going to the bars were shut down, eating out was shut down. So everyone was kind of all upon one another, both physically and emotionally. So that led to a very high divorce rate of all kinds. And that was very apparent to our firm, as we did not expect that people would want to appear so remotely to talk about such personal things on the phone or Zoom.
And what happened during the court process that you couldn't go into the courtroom? So what happened to your clients?
So that was a huge adjustment period for us. We had to learn how to try our case to the screen. And we had our hiccups. We had dogs and children that would come into the courtroom because the courtroom was our home. I actually built an office in my home during the pandemic upstairs that locked and was away from all the pets and children. But the clients, they figured out how to testify. We made them comfortable. I would meet clients in my office, my actual physical office in Allen, with masks and just to give them that sense of comfort. Because when you're going through a divorce, the last thing you want is to feel like you're not a person.
Absolutely. She's a young lady, but she has a storied career. We're going to pull up her bio because you've grown this firm to a fairly large-sized firm in Collin County. And as we scroll down, some of the accolades that just jumped out at me, specially licensed to practice before the U.S. Supreme Court, rated among the top 10 family lawyers under 40, Texas super lawyer. Just amazing. As you look back on your career, you're like, I did all that. That has to be a source of pride.
It's kind of funny because I never set out to be a divorce attorney. I actually wanted to do medical malpractice or maybe be an environmental lawyer. I started and it was incredibly boring and transactional. So I moved into family law the second year of my practice, and I got into a courtroom and I loved it. I loved being in front of the judge and actually seeing the difference that I can make with clients.
Yes. Well, let's talk a little bit about gray divorce, because it used to be, you after you made it past like the 20-year mark, you till death do you part. But these days, I think people are waking up in their 50s and 60s and saying, I want to live the rest of my life.
Sure. I think, not to be trite, but I think 50 is the new 40 or maybe even the new 30. So it's not a midlife crisis. It's just that you marry someone who's your best friend, maybe out of college, and you're a different person.
Right.
So the issues that come up that we see with gray divorce, we have adult children. The adult children actually have so much voice at the table, even though they're not parties to the suit. There's a lot of what we call shadow figures that talk to the parents and influence their choices.
Right. Wow, that's powerful. It's complicated, and it takes a steady hand. Let's talk about a collaborative divorce and collaborative law, because many people hear it, they don't know what it means.
So collaborative law is codified by the Texas Family Code. It's very specific. You opt into a process where you say, we are never going to grace the inside of a courtroom. And the reason that's so important is because you have that confidentiality, you have the soundproof booth, you have your team of professionals that is there all fighting for the same thing, which is the family, not against one another, but together.
Yes. I want to talk about compassion, because I think people can go to a website and see magna cum laude, this and that, but it doesn't, they always say it doesn't matter how much you know until they know how much you care. What is it about you and the way you relate to your clients that makes you so popular? So
I do this because I love to serve others. I also really enjoy the family dynamic and helping families go through this really tough transition with a sense of dignity and a sense of where they're going and what they can do afterward, and give them hope.
I know a lot of young people are putting off marriage till a later age. Do you see the divorce rates starting to decline at some point because they were older when they got married?
You know, I don't know the answer to that because I think it's too early to tell. I can say we're doing cohabitation agreements. I can say that we're seeing a lot of really, I'll call it a quick draw divorce, a 1 or 2 failure to launch years of marriage in the early 30s. Obviously, in those short-term marriages, you don't have as many assets or complicated child issues, so they don't tend to come to our firm. But, I think at this point, the hesitation for marriage is probably well earned, yes.
Sure. We've got some video from our video library. Let's talk about the most popular reasons that people get divorced. Is it still kind of fights over kids and money? Is that what people are fighting about?
I say sex, kids, and money.
Yeah.
So a lot of times that we haven't been intimate in 6 years, and I just look at the client and I have respect for them. And they were in it to win it, and they have children. And they said, we have these beautiful children. We wanted to stay together. My parents got divorced, so I didn't want to hand that down as a legacy. Money, when there's secret shopping habits or a disagreement on fundamentally what you think is worth spending your money on. That's a big argument. And kiddo issues, parenting. I mean, some parents just, you don't have that discussion before you have the babies.
Right. And the parenting styles. So one is the disciplinarian, one's the candy man.
Yeah, we've Disney dad and we have disciplinary mom, and the kids are confused and the parents are kind of giving each other dirty looks. And so during those divorces, we help them relearn and so send them to parenting classes and therapy.
So in the final minute or two we have left, I want you to look into the camera and talk to the person who is considering, hiring you. What's the process look like? They call you, they make an appointment with your firm. How does it work?
Sure. So we have a team approach. From the moment you call our receptionist, Kristen, she will set you up with an attorney in our firm. We have 4 attorneys, and everyone has a paralegal on our team as well. She'll set you up with who she feels fits best with your profile. And then you consult with an attorney, hopefully in the office, but we also do Zoom. And once you consult, then we set forth your goals and what you can achieve and give you a spectrum of results.
Outstanding. You've been an amazing guest. We're going to leave with her website, which is nataliegregg.com. Natalie, thank you so much for sharing your heart and wisdom with us.
Thank you.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.